this and talk about. Should be pretty interesting. We're definitely going to talk about the cult that we've been covering, the ramp out of Hamilton, Alabama. Also want to say a few things tonight about I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Christy Griffin story. She's the Alabama mother that was jailed this past weekend. I want to talk about that from a standpoint that I haven't seen hardly anyone, if anyone, looking at it from. So that should be some interesting conversation. Hey, Tracy. We should be good on everything. What's up, Monica? Hopefully everyone can see me good, hear me good. Hey, Nancy. What's up, Texas, Terry? Debbie. Y'all on TikTok, can y'all see me and hear me good? It's saying there's some quality issues. Awesome, perfect. I don't know why it's saying that. I don't know what's up with TikTok the last week. They're giving me no views or anything. It's weird. Very strange. I think I got 2 different videos in the past week that I put on there, and neither one of them has even gotten to 1,000 views yet. Normally get to 1,000 within the first hour, so it's very weird. I don't know if they're shadow banning me or what. What's up, Sienna? Like right now, we only have 6 people on there. That's weird. Usually start out with like 80, between 80 and 100. One thing I want to, this is probably going to be a little unpopular opinion, but it's been a few weeks ago. For those of you that saw, there was a story out where in Bessemer, Alabama, a woman, I believe it was a woman, was pulled over. A Bessemer police officer conducted a traffic stop on her, and during the traffic stop, when the officer was about to walk up to her vehicle, her dog jumped out of the back window and ran towards him, and started trying to bite him. And he unfortunately he had to take the dog out. And that's a sucky situation. It's most police officers have been there with an animal before, and you can't just stand there and let a dog bite you like that. Like if it's a big dog, and I think this was a pit bull, so pretty big dog, but you can't just let the dog bite you. Like that's crazy, stupid. And because I keep saying one thing I want to hit on, I keep seeing a lot of people post, not a lot, but some people in comments about this. If a police officer is that scared, he needs to get in another business. Okay. There is a big difference between being scared and being stupid. There's a big difference in being brave and being stupid. Letting a big dog just bite you is stupid because it could take your life. It happens almost every day. Dogs take humans' lives very often. So you can't do that. And you can't tase them in most situations. I have seen numerous dogs tased. More times than not, the taser did not work on a dog. I can actually, in my head, I can only think of one time that a taser actually worked on a dog, and I don't even think the prongs hit that dog then. I think it scared it. But I've seen dogs hit with the taser and not phase them at all. So you can't. After the first time I saw that, I said then to myself, I'm never going to use try a taser again on a dog. Now, luckily, I never had to. Well, there was like 3 of us one time that had to shoot one. Actually, it was 2, and the owner literally released them on us, trying to attack us, and it was what were they? Rottweilers. And actually, I don't even know if I hit one. I was on top of a car, but I did fire at it quite a few times, and it was jumping around and trying to get us. But we eventually had to shoot both of them. And it's not something you want to do, but again, it's a sucky part of the job. But the main thing I want to bring up here is nothing about that incident in Bessemer is the officer's fault. If you carry your animal of any kind around with you, you are responsible to keep it under control. If you can't control your animal, do not carry it around with you in public anywhere. Don't do that. I've never seen a police officer want to shoot an animal. It's not something you want to have to do. Most police officers love dogs just like everybody else. I mean, I love dogs. I have 2. It will absolutely be devastating to me when I lose them. It's going to happen one day, unfortunately, but it's not going to be fun. So I get all that. But this has nothing to do with the police officer in this incident. This is 100% the owner's fault. Today, I saw a post, and I was hoping it was a joke, but it was not, because now I've seen it in a few places. I think AL.com was one, or either a reporter for them posted it. The woman, the owner of that dog, has now started a GoFundMe and is trying to raise $20,000 for a special veterinarian autopsy. Not sure why you need an autopsy. I don't think it's up for question what happened to the dog. It was shot. So, well, I'm having some weird difficulties here. So, got that. She's trying to raise $20,000 for that, and for money for legal proceedings against the officer and the city, I guess. No attorney with any sense is going to take that on unless they're just wanting to grab money from the woman, because there's nothing. There's not a case there at all whatsoever. It's unfortunate, but it's definitely not a case there at all. In other words, this is a money grab, and that's sad. The craziest part to me is already raised over $5,000. There are people donating money to this nonsense. Trust me, not one penny of that money is going to go towards anything to do with this dog. It's nonsense. There are so many. If you just want to throw money away, go to Brittany Roberts' Facebook page and donate to theirs, or go to their GoFundMe, which is for Will Roberts. He's the teenager that has cancer all over him, and they need it. And I'm sure there are 10 other better places that you can give your money. But giving money for something like this, for this woman just trying to make money off of an opportunity here, is crazy. And wow, her morals are non-existent, obviously. But anyway, I saw that today, and I could not believe it. I was like, please let this be a joke, and it wasn't. It's crazy. Again, I hate that her dog lost its life. I hate that. 100% her fault. We got to start putting blame where blame is due. Now, the other thing that I would like to discuss, is the Alabama mother, Christy Griffin, who spent this last weekend in jail, actually here in Tuscaloosa County, where I live. And a lot of uproar, obviously, all over. I mean, it's everywhere. It's blown up. The main thing I want to make clear before I talk about this, I am not taking the side of the father. I am not taking the side of the mother. I'm not for nor against either one of them. I am for the child, 100%. But I do not know enough about everything that's going on and exactly everything to make a fair opinion, or to give a fair opinion on which one I believe is truly in the wrong, whether it be the mother or the father. And unless you've been in those hearings yourself, nor do you. But a lot of people have their opinion. I mean, and you can have your opinion, but I wish more people would look at this with an unbiased look. But most that I see are not. So I want to be clear. I'm not taking it for the father. I'm not saying the father's in the right, but I'm also not saying the mother's in the right. But here's my issues with what I see everyone posting about. Number one, the biggest thing I see is people posting about the father's past drug history, or criminal history. First, I want to be clear with everyone. What's his name? Corey Strickland. It's Christy Griffin is the mother and Corey Strickland is the father. Corey's entire criminal history was before Christy had a child with him. Therefore, I'm not and refuse to hold that history against him in this situation. As far as I know, and I could be wrong. That's what I'm saying. I'm not for the dad, but I'm not against him at this point because there's so much I still don't know. But as far as I know, he's been clean for over 10 years now. Why is anyone holding that against him? As you've heard me say 1,000 times, I've been in contact with thousands and thousands, tens of thousands probably, of addicts. Well over 90% of them are really good people. They just made some bad decisions, and unfortunately, some of them continue to make bad decisions. But when they're clean They're great people. A lot of addicts change. A lot. A lot do make it through that. And there are a lot of previous addicts that are literally changing this world right now for the good. So holding that history against someone, I don't agree with. Also, apparently it was not that big of an issue to the mother because, again, that was before she decided to have a child with him. So I don't think it's fair for anyone to hold that against him. So that's the number one thing I see people talking about. Number two, I've seen some talk about this article that he was part of out of Hawaii, where he's talking about financial struggles. And in that article, he talks about how he's having to live in a duplex with roommates and drive for Uber 50-something hours a week and then DJ for 50-something hours a week, whatever. He's working multiple jobs. How could anybody look at that in a negative light? I have the utmost respect for anyone that has to work multiple jobs and is doing it because it's what they have to do. You're doing something right if you're able to hold on to multiple jobs and work that many hours a week to do what you have to do. Also, he just recently paid up over $18,000 in child support back pay to the mother. Possibly why he was having financial issues as he was trying to save this money up to pay this child support back so he could then have a relationship with his child. Again, I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying that's as much of a possibility as not, as far as probably any of us know. So I refuse to hold it against him that he's having to work multiple jobs and that he has been able to come up with all of that money. That's a lot of money. And to pay the mother back. And the mother has made this all of our business. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Social media can be great for that. It's literally what I do every day, pretty much. But since she has made this all of our business, then I think we have the right to ask some hard questions. What the hell did you do with the $18,000? Why didn't you hire a good attorney with that? Maybe she has a great answer for that. I'm not saying she doesn't. But I would like to know, and I'm not giving her GoFundMe a penny until I know that. Like, why did you wait till the weekend it was supposed to happen to then try to file these emergency hearings when the custody that's in place has been in place? That court order's been in place for quite a while. So again, if you got this $18,000 back, why didn't you use that on an attorney? And again, she may have a great answer. I just think it's something we need to look at and ask. So she goes into this emergency hearing, or not this emergency hearing, I'm sorry, the contempt hearing, representing herself. Don't ever do that. Let me tell y'all something. I have never, not once, I'm sure there are instances where it's happened, but I have never, not once, seen it work out well for someone that's representing themselves in any type of court. It's not smart. And if there's any possible way you can have an attorney, you need to have an attorney. And that brings me to one of my next points on this. Everybody is hating on Judge Stevenson. I don't know him. Out of all the judges here in this, I don't know him. He was never a judge when I was working. I remember having one conversation with the man one time when I think he was running for district attorney at one time, and I think I had a conversation with him. Only conversation I ever had with him. So I don't know anything about him. But this was a contempt of court hearing. That hearing was for him to decide, was this mother in contempt of court? By her own admission, she was in contempt of court. So, what? Why are we all hating the judge right now that held her in contempt when, by her own admission, there's no question she was in contempt? She says it herself. Now, did she do the right thing by that? Maybe. Was that the way for her to bring the right attention to this and get attention? Maybe. Again, in the end, she may be 100% in the right. This man may be a horrible man and doesn't need to be anywhere around his daughter. But until we know more, none of us know that. Also on the financial struggles. I went through her Facebook page. Not long ago, she literally made a big post saying almost the exact same things that the father said in that article. How she was struggling financially before she got married this last time. And these are her words, not mine. She specifically said, me and my daughters was living in a very old trailer with no air conditioner, with mice everywhere. And she even talks about the 9-year-old being the one that was running around trying to catch all the mice in this place. And that she would have to literally starve often in order for her children to eat. Now, again, I don't look at that as a negative way and negative towards the mother. That's amazing. It sounds like she did what she had to do and needed to do to let her children eat. And I can't imagine how hard it is for a single mother to do that. It's impressive. So again, I don't look at it as a negative towards her, just like I don't towards him. But for some reason, I've not seen anybody talk about that. All I've seen is people talk about the father's financial struggles. Why has no one talked about the mother's financial struggles? Because most people are looking at this with a completely biased opinion, and you're seeing what you want to see. Let's just say, give me 1 minute to say this side. And again, I'm not saying this is what is going on, but I'm saying it very well could be. Obviously, this guy's not going to get Dad of the Year. He's made a lot of mistakes. And obviously, he's not been part of his daughter's life much. However, what it appears right now, that he decided, you know what, I want to be a part of my daughter's life. I'm going to pay this over $18,000 back in child support so I can then get to see my daughter. And he paid the money back, and now he's wanting to spend time with his daughter. He's got his shit straight, is what it sounds like. Again, maybe he don't. But I think there's just as much a good possibility that he does as he doesn't. Let me tell you what, in the United States, literally one of our biggest problems, if not our biggest problems, is fatherless children. Hands down. We have way too many fatherless children. We have way too many fathers that are not a part of their children's lives. And that has proven to be detrimental to our society. No one can argue against that. It has proven to be completely detrimental. That is what is tearing our society down right now. Because we don't have enough fathers that care. And they're doing what they're supposed to do. But here, again, just maybe, we have a father that's wanting to fix that and wanting to be a part of his daughter's life. And here we are throwing the stakes. We're wanting to set them on fire. Why is everybody looking at this with such biased opinion? Another thing I want to say, trust me, there's a problem with family courts, especially in this state. It's not taking kids away from the mother and giving them to the father. Let me say that louder. It's taking kids away from their fathers and giving them to the mothers. It's automatically assumed, especially in this state and a lot of other states, that the father will never have full custody of a child, but the mother always gets benefit of the doubt. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. You can't tell me I'm wrong. The stats, it's completely proven. I don't see enough people talking about that on a daily basis. Why? Because nobody cares. But when the tables are turned, all of a sudden everybody cares. And again, if the mother is right in this situation, props to her. And I hope we find out sooner rather than later if she's right or wrong. Because obviously, I don't want anything bad to happen to this child. But again, I was not in any of those court hearings. The court filings, the court paperwork only tell part of the story. Simple as that. Unless you were actually there, there's a lot you don't know. Again, I want to be clear. I am not for the dad. I'm not for the mom. I'm not against the dad. I'm not against the mom in any way whatsoever. I just wish more people would be more open to looking at this from both sides. Because right now, I've seen about 2 people look at it from the other side and 10,000 looking at it from the mom's side. It's just very frustrating. I've seen some people post about back to his criminal charges. I've seen some people post about his 18 prior criminal charges. And I was like, well, that's a lot. So I looked him up myself. It's a very misleading statement. 13 of those 18 were traffic tickets. So why are we throwing on 18 criminal charges? 13 of them were traffic tickets. Out of the 5 left, 3 of his cases were completely dismissed. So that leaves you with 2. 1, very serious charge. Again, and I think he pled guilty to drug trafficking. Very serious charge. No doubt about that. That's horrible. But that was also 13 years ago. Possibilities completely changed. And again, if that was such a big issue to the mom, why wasn't it an issue? She was with him during some of this time. She obviously at that point didn't have an issue with it. At some point, there's at times we do have to understand we are responsible for who we have a child with, whether you meant to or not. You made that decision. It's not always the right decision. A lot of people can attest to that. But again, I just think more people should sit back and take a breath and go, maybe, just maybe, this guy's actually trying to finally do the right thing and get a relationship with his child. And I'm sitting here, she divorced him when she found out. Not, that's bullshit. I know the drug world. There's a couple of drugs that you cannot hide if you're on. One is H. The heroin. Nobody is sneaking around being on that, and people close to them doesn't know. Impossible. Opioids are what, or opiates is what he was charged with trafficking in. If he was using those, which is more than likely he was, she can't claim she didn't know. So I call bullshit on that. Now, if it was some other drugs, I'd say that's a good possibility. Not that one. Not that one. Well, also, with the trafficking, if it's opiates, which it was, I'm not minimizing that charge because it's a very serious charge. I've put a lot of people in prison for a long time, for a lot of years for that charge. A lot. I'm not trying to minimize it. But I just to be be fully transparent here, a trafficking in opiates could literally be 4 pills. And it could, because all it has to do, it just has to be 4 grams or 4.2 grams, 4 grams, 4.2. That could be 4 pills. So, and the only reason I say, again, I'm not trying to minimize that. The only reason I'm saying that is because I know most people, a lot of people, when they hear trafficking, they're picturing a carload of, multi-kilos or something. That's not the case in most opiates in trafficking. It just has to be 4 grams, which is a very small amount. Again, I'm not trying to minimize that charge. It's a very serious charge. He pled guilty. It's bad. But that was in 2013. She had this child with him after that. So you say she divorced him when she found out. You're saying that he went through an entire court process, charged, convicted of trafficking, a Class A felony, and she didn't have a clue about it and still had a child with him? I'm not buying that either. Again, I don't know the mother. I don't know the father. The mother seems to be a good person and a great mother. I'm not trying to down her in any way whatsoever. I could see more new information tomorrow and it make me say this mother was 100% in the right. She did exactly right by bringing all this attention to it. My God, we can't let this man take this baby. But I can't say that right now because there's just not enough known. I mean, honestly, now that I think about this, there's a decent possibility. Hell, I may have been the one to arrested this guy. Now that I think about it, I'm thinking about the years and where it was and where I was working at that time. If I didn't arrest him, I was probably worked on the case. I haven't even seen a picture of him. I hadn't even thought about that. His name Corey Strickland? I don't know. I don't have a clue how much her GoFundMe is raised. And I'm not, please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that y'all shouldn't give money to her GoFundMe. I'm not saying that whatsoever. If you feel like that you want to do that, you do. Like, I'm not blaming that. I'm not judging anybody for that. I'm just saying I'm not until I know more. And to be fair, as far as Judge Stevenson, which is the judge in this case, he's never been elected. And I don't like that. He was appointed to this position, and he's never been elected to a judge's position. So, I mean, he may not be a good judge at all. Again, I'm not discarding that. He's literally the only judge in this town that I don't know. Well, and I don't have a clue when they got divorced or anything. I'm just doing the math with the child's 9, correct? Am I wrong on that, or that's what everything says? So if the child's 9, he pled guilty in 2013. That was 13 years ago. But again, I'm not holding that stuff against him at this point. If he has been clean for over 10 years, I think it's crazy to hold that against him. Well, this hearing and the judge was completely focused on her contempt, which is all he's supposed to be focused on, because that's what the hearing was for, was determine whether she was in contempt of court. So that's literally the only thing he could be focused on. That's the only thing he had authority over at that time to rule on, was whether she was in contempt of court or whether she wasn't. Again, by her own admittance, she was in contempt of court. Sienna, I get that, but would you think the same if the roles were reversed? If the mother had not been part of the child's life, like just reverse the roles here. Say it was a 9-year-old boy that had been living with his father, and now the mother has paid back all this child support, and there's been a court order saying that the mother could take the child for 5 weeks. Would you be saying the same thing? Because I think a lot of you, and maybe you would, but I think a lot of you wouldn't. And that's what I'm saying. You got to take your biased goggles off and look at it from an unbiased place. Yeah, I'm talking about the Hawaii dad. Again, he's not going to get Dad of the Year, and he's had a lot of problems, and he's not been a good father. I agree with you there. But if he has now decided, if he has completely changed his life and decided, you know what, I want to be a part of my daughter's life, I don't think we should be burning the guy. And then the mother is blaming the courts. But I don't hear the mother blaming herself for her not knowing who the father really was as far as his past and what he was currently doing when she was with him. Why does she get a pass on that? But her saying that the courts don't know. Well, she didn't know either at the time, obviously. If a man was capable of carrying a child for 9 months, maybe you would agree. Is a woman capable of carrying a child for 9 months without the man being involved? No. Men and women can't help the roles God reserved for each. A man should not be punished just because of that. And again, I get messages all the time from dads that are going through the same thing this mother going through. I'm telling you, almost every day. And I don't ever really get involved in them or anything because I just know how messy custody disputes are and everything. And it's just not something I'm going to get deep involved in or anything like that. This happens every single day, multiple times to men. And I don't ever see outrage over that. But when it happens to a woman, there's all this outrage. And I think we need to realize that. But sending that little girl to Hawaii to stay with dad and his roommates is not the greatest situation for the child. The child living in a rundown trailer with no air conditioner with mice everywhere was not the greatest situation for the child either, but she made it through it, and she'd probably be stronger because of it. And that's the situation the mom put her in. But see, Tracy, there's a lot of fathers that feel the exact same way you do. I can't imagine being without my kids. And I'm not going to let somebody take my kids from me. I'm not. I'm not the mother, but I promise you I feel no different than you. Why couldn't he come here and see her? Why couldn't the mom go to Hawaii and let him see the child there? That works both ways. See, y'all are so biased on it, and I understand that. I'm not hating on you because of it, but you're extremely biased on this. You're only wanting to look at it from the mother's side, or you're not looking from the dad's side. You're wanting to put all the blame on the dad and none on the mother, and I don't think that's fair. The mother chose to have a child with this guy after he had been convicted of drug trafficking. You can't say most men aren't like that, Tracy. Most men are like that. And we don't let children make those decisions ever. As a 9-year-old, And speaking on that, now this is one thing I'm pissed about the mother at. Now, this one thing that I am pissed about the mother and that she did wrong and she shouldn't have done it is a very common manipulation tactic that is used in these situations. And she used it by telling that 9-year-old, I'm going to jail because of your dad. I'm going to jail because of this man. You sure you don't want to go spend 5 weeks with him in Hawaii? Well, of course she's going to say no. Because now she knows him as the man that has sent my mom to jail. The mom shouldn't have done that. And I'll tell you this, the courts are not going to be happy with that. The mom has hurt herself on that for future in the future court proceedings. Judges are not going to be happy with that. Nor should they. Exactly, Kayla. A custodial parent cannot legally decide on their own to cancel or ignore a judge's order. When Christy admitted on that video that she refused to let the child go, she legally handed the judge no choice but to find her in contempt of court. Exactly. And that's all I'm saying about the judge. He did not have a choice. I mean, I don't know why people were acting like that he did, but he didn't. And also, it's not like her saying, no, I'm not letting her go is going to stop that from happening. It's not. Her going to jail is not going to stop. Again, the one thing the mother did wrong here is she made this a lot worse on herself as far as in the courts. I know in the public side, she's the savior, but I'm telling you in the courts, it's not going to be like that. She's made herself look really bad. No, a parent should never talk bad about the other in front of the child, ever. And if you do that, you're wrong. Don't do that. That child needs to figure out on their own what kind of person their parent is. And unfortunately, I have a lot of experience in that because I grew up without my father. He was in prison. I remember being pretty young and people in my family constantly talking about him, saying all these horrible things about him, and I did not like that. Now, they were right. Don't get me wrong. They were right. But I didn't like them saying those things in front of me when I was small, when I was young. And I never forget that. And I eventually realized on my own what kind of person he was, and that's what should happen. They shouldn't have said those things in front of me when I was a little child. Because it pissed me off every time I remember those times. And now I'll be the first one to tell you, he's an evil POS. He doesn't deserve to be on this earth. Trust me, he doesn't. But that wasn't their place to instill that in me. I should have been able to make that choice completely on my own, which is what I ultimately did. But you need to let your child make that decision and figure that out on their own. They will remember that, and they will hold that against you. Trust me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one on here right now that would say that. No, a child does not not in Alabama, a child does not get to make that decision at the age of 13. A child doesn't get to make the decision of where they go until they're 18 years old in the state of Alabama. I've heard that a lot. That's a myth. I've heard it a lot. There may be some states that that's the case, but it's not in Alabama. But if a kid's exactly, Melissa, if a child's parent is horrible, they will figure it out. What's up, Christy? No, kids are not stupid. We underestimate kids all the time. They're not. And they remember, and those are the things they remember. That's one of the things I remember when I was young. There's a lot of, I'm sure, good times and moments when I was young. I don't remember that were just normal. But I remember those specific times. I remember specific people and specific things they said. I remember those things. It is exactly like Kaylee just said. It is psychologically damaging to the child. Trust me. And the mother shouldn't have done that. And again, people were saying, well, the child doesn't want to go with him. Well, no shit. God knows what all that mother has said in front of that child about the dad for these years. God, I mean, I'm sure that if we know for a fact she said this now and told the child, hey, I'm going to jail because of your dad, there's no telling what all she has said about him in the past to this little girl. So in this little girl's head, there's no telling what she thinks about this man. And again, the mom may be 100% right, but it's not for her to tell the child that. The child needs to figure that out on their own, and they will. And at a pretty young age. But because I'm not married to my son's mother anymore. I've never, not one time ever, said anything negative about her in front of him. Never. Nor will I ever. But again, my main point in all of that was I wish more people would look at it from both sides and be a little less biased. I don't know who's right or wrong yet. I don't. What's up, Bridges? I'm not a child psychologist. I don't know if it's horrible. I mean, it may be. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know if it is. I don't know. And if you really was unbiased about it, you wouldn't say that either because you don't know. Is it the worst thing? Or could it end up being better for the child to just get immersed in that and not slow? I don't know. I mean, again, but unless you're a psychologist or at least unless you're a child psychologist or study this stuff, I don't know that you know either. That is the best rule, and if more parents did that, we would have a lot less of these problems, Monica. Love the kids more than you hate the other party. And that's what I've seen a lot in life is parents will hate the other parent more than they love the kid. And that's sad. And I'm not saying that's the case in this situation. Again, I'm not trying to badmouth the mother. Would I move across the states from your child? I mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, is that ideal? No, but sometimes it's necessary. And I know some really good people that have had to do that for a career or something, and they make it work, but it's not ideal, but it doesn't make them a bad parent. I moved 2 hours away from mine for about 3 years, and that was enough. And that's literally the reason that we moved back, was because it was too much. And I was still getting him all the times that I get him now. It just, I didn't like it, and it was tough. And so no, I mean, we decided that it's not worth it, and we came back, and that was the right decision to make. But everybody's different. I don't see this turning out well for the mother. I see this turning out very bad for the mother in the courts. I will say that. And I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid this is not going to turn out well for her. I'm afraid she has made a bad course here, and I'm not faulting her for that. I'm not judging her for that. I understand. Well, I can't even say I understand, because I don't. I don't know what the mother's going through. I don't know how she's feeling. I can't imagine. So please don't understand. Please understand. I'm not judging her, but I'm just saying I don't think this is going to work out well for her. I think she probably has dug herself in a very deep hole now. And again, I hope I'm wrong. The judge should have never made a 5-week order with a parent that hasn't been around the child that much. And I mean, I'll give you that, but that was made. I don't. As it may have been the same judge, it may have been Severson, but I doubt it. But that order has been in effect for a while. But in all seriousness, if you haven't listened to anything I said, listen to this. Never ever go to court without an attorney, especially when it comes to your children. And I know there's a lot of people that have made that mistake, and hindsight's 2020. And the reason I'm saying that now is so hopefully it stops someone from making that mistake in the future. Don't do that. I've never seen that. I've never seen that go right ever. Tracy said, well, she will see Hawaii before I do. Wish the child the best. Yeah, and I do too. And I don't mean this in a, this is not, it's not, I don't mean this in a laughing way or that there's something funny about this because there's not, because it's not. But honestly, when I first started hearing about this, that was my first thought of, I was trying, because I always tried to put myself in the situation. I was like, with my situation, and when I was 9, 10 years old, if somebody would have said somebody's taking you to Hawaii for 5 weeks, I would have been in heaven. But again, please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say there. It's just, that was the first, just being honest, that was the first thing that came to my mind of, I would have thought that was there because, hell, I never got to go anywhere at that age. I would have been excited to go 3 counties over. Now that I've been to Hawaii a few times, it's awesome, but places a lot closer that I would go to before I go back there. It's cool to go to. It's a cool experience. It's extremely expensive. I think going once or twice is probably, that's enough for you. I say it's a little overrated. I think because, like, I remember the first time I was going, I had it built up in my head of this just, unbelievable, just paradise. And now there's parts that does feel like that. But I think we build things up in our head, and then we actually get there, we're like, this is more normal than I realized. But it's cool, but no, I've been to places that are a lot more beautiful and cooler to go to that are closer than halfway across the world. It's a long flight, especially from Alabama. But no, I wish the best for the child, and I hope this doesn't work out bad for the mother because, again, I don't think she's a bad person or anything. She seems like she's a great mother. She seems like she is doing what she feels she needs to do at this time, and I don't fault her for that. I completely get that. I'm not judging her for any of this other than she should not have told the daughter that she should not be bad-mouthing the father in front of the daughter like that. Now, that I don't agree with, but again, she's in a very stressful situation, and I'm sure she feels like, again, I can't even imagine what she's going through. So it's not fair for me to judge much on that. What's up, mate? Is it Mate Kevin Crowden? See, I don't know who you're responding to. I don't see. On a lighter note, I know I'm doing something wrong. This woman, for her dog, has raised over $5,000 in like a day or two on GoFundMe. I've made 74 cents during this live. She's smarter than me. Yeah, and there have been, as far as Steverson following the law, there have been, I've seen Katie Hall brought up some points that if that turns out to be the case of whether the judge did right, if it turns out to be the case he did wrong, then yeah, that needs to be fixed. Again, I'm not taking up for him either. I'm just, there's still a lot that I don't know. And even after looking at, I've looked at I've pulled up all the files from Alicourt and everything, and I've seen everything. But again, that only is part of the picture. There's a lot of things said in those hearings that we don't know what was said. And I will, I would say that I, I wish people wouldn't use the child's real name in posting things like that. I know the mother did. Again, I don't agree with that, but again, I'm not judging her, but we, I don't think we should be repeating the child's name. She has done absolutely nothing in this, and not something we want her to be famous for when school starts back in a month, of everybody, all the kids, talking about that in front of her and things like that. So I think we should be careful about saying the child's name, actual name, and things like that. But no, I mean, the mother could be in the absolute right. Uh, I think about Jonathan Boley, which is the 4-year-old in Walker County. The courts, cost that boy that baby his life, and it was completely different courts. But that mom in that case did everything she was supposed to, and fought to keep all custody away from that dad, and the courts went against it, and it cost the child his life. So again, that's why I'm not going to try to pretend I know what the mother's going through. She's probably thinking the worst, just like that, stuff. But again, I don't know who's in the right or the wrong here. Are you saying are you saying I have brought up a lot of kids that shouldn't have been brought up on topics? I've never brought up a kid. I'm very careful about that. If that's what you're saying, which maybe it is, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Is that what you're saying? Please name one child I've brought up. Okay, who? Or just say the case. Don't even have to say. Prove me wrong. Don't just say ridiculous things on here. Prove me wrong, because that's the furthest thing from the truth that you just said. Did I not read what the first time? I've not said this child's name. No. I know for a fact I've not said this child's name. Enjoyed your views, learn more about you on your podcast than when I live next. Live next. Oh my goodness, I just realized who that is. Sid. Hey man, what's up? I didn't realize that's who that I didn't even think about that. Put that together. Madams, I'm waiting for you to tell me these kids that I've put in danger. Because your statement is, you said you've brought up a lot of kids that shouldn't have been brought up on topics. Now those kids are in danger when they go back to school. So let's hear it. What you said a lot. I just asking for one. Show me one. Let's hear one time. And it's easy to prove because all of my stuff is saved. It's all of my podcasts are out there. Crickets. It's frustrating when somebody says something that's just not even close to the truth, and then you ask them, hey, just prove it. And then they just like saying stuff. I spend most of my life now protecting children. So when somebody says something like that, it does piss me off. I'm guessing I've called out someone that you like, and so you don't like me because of that. Which, trust me, a lot of people don't like me. But it doesn't mean you go around telling lies about somebody. It's also funny that those things are always said by anonymous profiles. A lot of courage you got there, madam's plot twist. You don't even have a name. I speak on subjects that I've done also. Listen, before you go saying more bullshit, how about proving your first statement? Prove your first statement, then we'll listen to more. But not even proving your first statement and then going on to make up other things is not. I'm going to read your statement to you one more time, and then I'm not responding back to you until you actually prove that. You have brought up a lot of kids that shouldn't have been brought up on topics. Now, those kids are in danger when going back to school. I challenge you to show me one example of that. Just one. You said a lot. I'm just asking you to. Just one. And their response is exactly what. All right. I've had enough of this. We can fix this problem from this profile that was just created on June the 8th. All right. Must be Brittany. There's no telling who it is. Yeah, I did, Natalie. No, y'all will rarely see me block people, and you can even my team. I tell them we don't block people unless it's just nonsense, like from a fake profile. If you're from a fake profile, we'll block you. But if you've got your real name, you can say whatever you want to. I'm never going to block you. I don't like blocking people. Now, we're going to get on a subject that is a very big deal right now and that I'm very passionate about right now. And that's the ramp. And the ramp, if you're not familiar, is the cult disguised as a ministry. I'm sorry, it's the ministry. No. Yes, I said it right the first time. The cult that is disguised as a ministry out of Hamilton, Alabama. Well, their main campus is in Hamilton, Alabama. They also have a campus in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they also have a campus in the UK. And we've talked a lot about them. They had their first summer ramp camp, as they call them, this past weekend. Ended up throwing a block party that nobody knew about till the time it was happening. And that was purposely done. And Karen Wheaton, who is the leader and founder of the ramp, we know of at least 8 child predators that have been on staff there at one time or the other. At least 8. And that's just all we know about. We saw a speech that Karen gave this weekend talking about us, those of us that are calling her out. And for one, she called us foxes, which I kind of take as a compliment. If anybody's ever called me a fox, I've never took it negatively. It just kind of sounds like, I don't know exactly what they mean, but I'm like, hey, I don't mind being a fox, I don't think. So I just kind of found that funny. And then a lot of the people that have been calling them out has been making a big joke out of that. And it's pretty funny. And I meant to have a picture of a fox on here the whole live too. I would do that Wednesday for sure. I'd forgotten about that. Because I think a lot of us we need to change our profile pictures to a fox for a little bit at least. I think that would be pretty good. But anyway, hundreds of children have been harmed in this place. Thankfully, a lot of them are speaking out now, some publicly, some privately. And we know that at least 2 previous victims have filed lawsuits against her, and she's involved in those. On the surface, she's acting like none of this is going on, but behind the scenes, they're liquidating everything, tons of their buildings, even their college. Well, their fake college, but they're trying to liquidate all this stuff. She made a statement in that speech that I was talking about the other night that she said, if we get run out of this town, I'll just move to another. I'm pretty sure that's already in the works because she's getting run out of there. She knows that. She knows the gig is up, and I'm sure they have a plan. That's why they're trying to liquidate everything. And I kind of think they're planning on going to another country, such as the UK, which I hope if they go anywhere, I hope that's where they go, but that's still, there's children there as well. And so we're still not going to stop until she's done. We're not going to stop until she is completely done. I don't care where she goes to. But she makes some statements in that. Well, let's play it instead of me sitting here trying to describe it. This is a very troubling. She says some very troubling things in this. And most of us that have been following this, and especially I think the ones that are prior victims and things like that, these things, the statements immediately stood out to them. It didn't get past them. Let me find this. Dang, I thought I saved that, but I didn't. Hold on. Is it in our Discord? Let me see. Maybe that's where it was.
Out of the Bible. Thank you. Why, Karen? Why would a 65?
Yeah, this is it. Let me get this brought up.
Year-old woman. Why wouldn't you just sit home and draw Social Security?
Because you love the money.
Into the senior citizen status. I'm not even used to it yet. Why? I mean it when I tell you. I see your face. I see it in the night. I see it. Why? Why?
She is one hell of an actress.
I see him.
Truly.
And I'm compelled. Paul said it best. Paul said, and now I'm bound by the Spirit. One version says I'm compelled. He said, I'm going to go to Jerusalem. I don't know what awaits me, except that the Holy Spirit tells me that in city after city, that jail and suffering lie ahead. Okay, that's encouraging.
Was that all of that video? Well, that didn't even get to the good part. That was just where she was talking about, she was comparing herself to Paul, which is, all you can do is laugh at that. Like, you can't, you just, Karen, you can't be serious right now. Comparing yourself to Paul in the situation you're going through. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's beyond that. Let me find the full. If somebody's got that handy, I know a bunch of you sent that to me the other night. If any of you have it handy, send that to me again on Messenger. I don't know what I did with it. For some reason on TikTok, I never see the good comments because I see y'all are responding to some Isabel, and I don't see her comment. Oh, hold on. Okay. All right, I got it now. Yeah, I did use the content used under Fair Use Act, but it still didn't work. TikTok still restricted me. All right, here we go.
What will I say to these things? What will I say to these people? If God be for us, who can be against us? So what is my response tonight to the threat of an enemy? My response is going to come from the words of my master, the one I follow. Here's my response. You go tell that fox that I will keep on. You go tell him I will keep on preaching to kids. I will keep on opening those doors out there wide, saying, come on in. If you don't have any money, it doesn't matter. Come on anyway. Come on in and drink freely of the water of life. If you're thirsty, drink. If you're hungry, eat of the bread of life. Encounter Jesus. See Jesus. I will keep on. I will keep on. You go tell the fox, I will keep on. You go tell the fox, I will accomplish my purpose. I will do what God says to do. If they kick us out of the city, I'll go to the next one. I'll go to the highways. I'll go to the byways. I'll go wherever kids are. I don't care where they are around the world.
Right there. I'll go wherever kids are. I don't care where they are around the... She said that purposely. She knows what she's doing. And I know a lot of us caught that. Karen, we're not the enemy. The child predators you had on your staff were the enemy. Your son-in-law, who was the second in command, he's the enemy, not us.
As long as my heart is beating and my lungs are breathing, I'm going to look for that one, and I'm going to look for that one, and I'm going to get that one, and I'm going to snatch them.
And I'm going to get, she's pointing at kids, and I'm going to get that one. I'm going to just snatch them. That's troubling. That's very troubling.
Out of the fire. You go tell the fox. You go tell the fox. You go tell the fox. I'm going to keep on until I accomplish my purpose.
Very troubling. Now, what has me so fired up is what I found out. So I believe it was Saturday. They had a big baptism at her property because she has spent millions on her property from the ramp. And she's got her own little river there and her own dam. She has built her own dam. I mean, seriously, it's crazy. Beautiful. And that's where they go to their baptisms. And I was told, we have called this child predator out numerous times. Let me pull this picture up. Him. Stephen Tyler Jordan. I have personally spoken to one of his victims. Another one of his victims spoke out publicly and made an entire video about the entire incident. It's horrible. We've shown it on here numerous times. This guy is a child predator. I've been screaming about that. I've shown his face every chance I can get. I've put him on podcast. Only to find out Saturday he was out there literally baptizing people. Or at the baptism and helping them, at least. Was he actually baptizing them, or he was just right beside them helping with the kids? This child predator. You know why? Trust me, that was purposely done by Karen. That was one of her ways of saying, I'm in charge. You're not going to tell me what to do, and we're going to do whatever the hell we want to. Yeah, so he was in the water helping with the baptisms this weekend. And you know what? When he is finally fully caught and sent to prison, you know what Karen's going to say? I didn't know. She knows. And I bet you everything he was purposely put in the water to be seen by all. And that's one of her ways of telling us to F off. I promise you. Just like some of those statements she just made. I'll get that one. I'll take that one. I'll snatch that one. This is sick, sick stuff. This is not a conspiracy theory. We know the shit's happening. We know it's all happened. God doesn't have to tell her. We've told her. I know she's watched my stuff. The decent possibility she's watching right now. And for over 6 months, I've said, hey, Stephen Tyler Jordan, I am calling you a child predator. If you're not, sue me. Funny, that hasn't happened yet. Because it's true and he knows it. There's no way in hell I would say that if I didn't know 100% factual. He's a child predator. Oh, and something else that this cult allegedly doesn't allow and doesn't like and calls out all the time are gay people. He's definitely gay, which I don't have a problem with, but they claim they do. We know for a fact he likes boys, and unfortunately, it's young boys. I wouldn't be surprised if Steven Tyler here, he keeps changing his name on Facebook back and forth like it's going to make a difference. Every time we call him out, literally, he changes his name on Facebook to something else. It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't a previous victim of Mr. Robert Cook here, known as Bobby. Mr. Bobby Cook, which is this child predator who has his share of victims, child victims from the ramp. Why is he allowed to stay around and gets what he wants? Because he's a big donor. I just spoke to another one of his victims this last weekend, and it's sick. Karen knew what Bobby Cook was doing. She knew he was purposely inviting all the ramp students, and she would encourage them to go to his house for these cookouts. And she knew why he only wanted young boys over there. So it wouldn't surprise me, and I'm not saying this is a fact, but it wouldn't surprise me if Stephen Tyler Jordan wasn't a previous victim of Bobby Cook's. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Maybe that's where he learned it all from. This is crazy that this stuff is still going on, and she is purposely just throwing it in her face. because she has been fully in charge and she has owned everything for so many years, and she still thinks she is untouchable. Or she still plays like she's untouchable. I think she's starting to realize she's not, but she's still trying to play the untouchable game. This earth has no room on it for those two. None. No, she built a new dam or something. She did. She built a whole new dam. There may have been one there before, but she built a whole new one because one of the federal agencies got called on her, like the EPA or something on that. If you know anyone that is still part of that cult, or anyone that's going to these summer ramps, or especially someone that's sending their children to those, you need to do whatever you can to stop them. Send them to me. They can call me. They can speak to me. They can speak to Rodrigo. They could speak to Stephen. There's tons of people that I guarantee you would speak to them to tell them, hey, this is not a conspiracy theory. Because those people I just mentioned seen it firsthand. They were there. They've seen it with their own eyes. They've been a part of it. Yeah, like Melissa said, the numbers were way down. Thankfully, the numbers were way down compared to previous years. And that's awesome. But there were still people there. You saw way too many. And we can't stop now. We can't slack off now. We have to go harder. We will, everything we do, and let me make sure I'm clear, will be fully legal. We will never do anything illegal. So when I say we're going to take them down and we're going to stop them, I mean in a legal sense, 100%. We are going to, I meant to do that today. We're going to get the paperwork sent in tomorrow for a peaceful protest for one of the July camps that we filled out everything for. It's not completely guaranteed it will get okayed because we're within that 30 days, but we think there's a chance that it will. So we're going to try. And as soon as we get that in, and one way or the other, and I'll let y'all know. But if that gets approved, there's still some things we can do, even if it don't. But if that gets approved, we need every single person that we can possibly get to come up there and show support on that day and show Karen Wheaton that this is not a few people, that we are serious and we're not going to stop. And if we do run her out of that town, then we'll move to the next town and run her out of that one and wherever she goes. I'm not going to stop until she is completely done. If she gets too much upset like that, she was in that video, it may not be long for her. She's going to end up having a stroke or something. She's getting desperate, and you can see that. That video, I've watched tons of her videos, unfortunately, over the past years now. binge watching these. I've never seen her upset like that. Not even close. This is wearing on her, thankfully. But again, that just means this is definitely not a time for us to slow down. We need to dig in harder right now and put more pressure and more pressure. And everything legally we can do, we're going to do. She is a sick, sick person. Why can't I see this Isabella person's comments? Blessed, if you see her comment again, will you pin one of them? Well, I don't have hardly any mods on tonight. Where's everybody? Oh, so Isabella, whatever her name is, Isabella is speaking out for Karen Wheaton. Jesus Christ. Oh, I know the truth. Well, we do too. Her eyes are on Powder Springs, Georgia. I'm not familiar with that. She doesn't believe me about the predator, but he was in the water. I mean, numerous people, reliable sources told me that he was there in the water this weekend. Now, if you're saying he's not a child predator, go ask him. Walk straight up to him and ask him. See his response. Trust me, he's done it. He's tried numerous times. And he's actually done it a few times, unfortunately. I'm hearing she's leaving Hamilton. Nah, again, that's obviously the plans. That's why she's liquidating everything. And she's going to try to keep these plans very tight. But unfortunately for her, there are people everywhere that is not for her. And there are eyes and ears everywhere. I mean, it sounds like it's time for us to go ahead and get some billboards in Powder Springs, Georgia, then. She has done nothing good for that town. And everybody that is in that town will tell you that. I'm going off what they have told me. I have yet to have one local there say, I love that Karen Wheaton's here. I love this place is here. Not one. She just ran that town into the ground. Isabella didn't eat at the block party unless she had money. Because Karen was even charging for pizza. I'm telling you, there's nothing free there. he wasn't around them. I hold on. No, I'm there. I've been told there's pictures, but again, I've been told by numerous very reliable sources he was in the water. So I don't know why you're saying he wasn't. I know 4 or 5 different people didn't get together and make that up and tell me. Like, this wouldn't make sense. There's Katie. Hello, Katie. Isabella, all I can say is I know for a fact, and this is nobody can argue this, there's been at least 8 child predators on staff at one time or the other at the ramp. At least 8. Nobody can argue that. That's not up for discussion. That's a fact. That's not a coincidence. Samuel Bentley has been doing what he was doing for over 20 years, and Karen knew about it and let him continue to do it. He has tons of victims. So I'm not sure what the argument is here of, I'm not saying anything that's not fully factual and 100% proven. I mean, 3 of them have been sent to prison. One's going to be going to prison. And Karen claims that she's a prophet and that God tells her specific things. He comes to her and again, I'm not denying God doesn't talk to people. I know God talks to people. He's talked to me. But Karen claims he has given her specific things, like she knew 2 years before her grandson was born, when he was the exact day he was going to be born on, and all this stuff. And that's just one of 1,000 things she has claimed she has known. But yet she claims she didn't realize hundreds of children were getting harmed in her organization for years. So God never told her that, apparently. Which is probably true. God didn't tell her that because he didn't have to, because she knew. But she can't have it both ways. She can't claim to be a legit prophet, but then not know this serious, horrible stuff that's going on right under her nose. She can't have it both ways. I don't have to have gone to the ramp. I've talked to I've had very in-depth conversations with tons of people that have been on staff, that have been students there, that have been members there, tons of them. All firsthand knowledge. Oh, wow, that's awesome. So Emily Massey says, my friend Dawn and I co-lead a support group for women who have come out of cult-like environments like the ramp. My husband and I used to attend the conferences at the ramp in our early 20s. Things like this can shipwreck people's faith. Yes. Our hope is for women specifically to have a safe place to meet others who have experienced such spiritual abuse and manipulation. It's called Snatched from the Flames. Emily, if you would please message me or I'll message you, I would love to speak with you. That's very interesting and awesome, but I'd love to speak with you. Let me pull this. Let me make sure to save this website. Oh, well, that's awesome, Emily. I would love to speak because I would love for you to come on the podcast. And you don't have to, obviously, but I would love to talk to you at least. But I think you probably could help a lot of people that follow us. See, I don't see any comments from Grace Murray either. Why am I not seeing these specific ones? So weird. But in all seriousness, if y'all are still no, it's not he said she said stuff. Grace, I'm a very experienced detective. I know the difference, and if y'all are still in there, I'm not judging you for that. You are a victim, and I understand that. Karen Wheaton is a master manipulator. She is a master communicator, and unfortunately, she uses it in evil instead of good. But she is an expert in brainwashing. I've studied that. I've taught it. I know how that goes. That's why I've watched so many of her videos. That's why I've watched everything she has ever put out that I can so far. I can pick these things out. She knows what she is doing, and she's very good at it, unfortunately. And I always go back to on one of the greatest leaders that have ever lived was one of the most evil people that's ever lived. And that's the guy that, I can't say his name, I don't think they'll kick me off. It had something to do with Germany back in World War II. But as far as a leader, he was an expert at getting people to follow him. He was an expert communicator, but he used it for evil. Karen Wheaton is the same. And there are a lot of people that fall under that spell that are victims. Because, again, these people are master manipulators. Yeah, like Emily just said, the deception causes such blindness and bondage. And we're not judging you. We're not saying, I'm not saying you're dumb or anything like that. I don't think that. You have fallen victim to a master manipulator. And I pray that you realize that at some point, and there are people like Emily over here that can help you with that. Jim Jones was another one. A very large percentage of cults have a lot of things in common. One, their leaders are always what? Self-declared prophets. Jim Jones. Waco. Why can I never think David? Why can I never think of his name? And I've studied him. Anyway, the Waco guy. I mean, there's countless examples, but they're self-proclaimed prophets, and they claim God speaks right to them, and God tells them what to tell you. They're all the same, and they are great. Yeah, David Koresh, thank you. They are master communicators. They are great speakers, but they use it for evil instead of good. Manipulation and influence are the exact same thing, except when it's used for good, we call it influence. When it's used for bad, we call it manipulation. The one-word definition for leadership is influence. These people are great leaders. They just use it for evil. And so I don't fault people that have fallen under that spell. It doesn't make you dumb. It makes you a victim, and that's okay. But Grace and Isabel, I have had these horrible conversations with some of these victims from there firsthand. And another thing they will all tell you is they were all just like you for a time. They fell into that. I'm not somebody that gets up every day and makes a podcast calling out a ministry or a church. This is the first one ever. I don't throw the term cult around lightly. I don't use that term lightly. A lot of people do. I get that. A lot of people they claim every mega church is a cult. I attend a mega church. It's not a cult. The Ramp is a cult. Every way you look at it. From the self-proclaimed prophets, the forced labor for no pay. I mean, the things that place puts those college students through is just unbelievably horrible. They starve them. And when the students go to them and tell them, hey, we're hungry, we don't have money because we're giving all of our money to you, and you won't feed us, they tell them, it's a time for fasting. That's evil. Oh, and we know that you're hungry and broke, but you better put in your 30 hours this week of manual labor or you're going to get fined. That is not a church. In no way. Very well put, Michael. I like that. Influence should be inspirational. Manipulation brings bondage and subjugation. Very well put. The River School here in Tampa with Rodney Howard Brown does the same thing to their students. It's really tragic. Oh my God, there's another place like this. Let me write that down. I wake up every day and think of what I can do to take down child predators and to help victims, survivors. I didn't wake up one day and decide I didn't like Karen Wheaton. I'd never heard of her before. I found out what was going on there, and I knew something had to be done. Now, studying child predators, one thing I do know that's unfortunate is most of them are master manipulators. They know what they're doing. They go to where the children are. They don't sit back and hope children come to them. So they purposely insert themselves into churches, ministries, teams, all those things. They go to where the children are. That's why we're seeing so many now and realizing there's so many in religious organizations and things. The difference in the ramp, though, and other places is they will pick these child predators out and turn them in and get them sent to prison. The ramp has not once done that. There's been at least 2 child predators at the ramp no, 3. Right? Hold on. Let me bring them up. Okay, Andrew High. He was on staff at the ramp for quite a while. Mysteriously, he left the ramp. All of a sudden, nobody knew why. It was a big secret. Just one day he wasn't there. Within 1 month of him mysteriously leaving the ramp, he had already gone and found him another ministry and inserted himself in. And within a month, he was caught doing horrible things to children at that place, and they did the right thing and they turned him in. And right now he is in prison. Are we expected to believe that he wasn't a child predator and as soon as he left the ramp, he decided to be a child predator? No, that's not the way it happens. These people don't wake up one day and decide, you know what, I've not been a child predator, now I'm going to be. That's not the way it works. We know he did it numerous times at the ramp. We know Karen Wheaton knew about it. And finally, he kept screwing up so bad that she was like, hey, you got to go because this is about to be found out. We can't take that chance. And so she ran him off instead of turning him in. And if she would have done the right thing even then, she would have saved his next victims at the next ministry. That's on her hands. Then we have Mr. Chase Cantrell. He was on staff at the ramp, one of the pastors. While at the same time, he was a teacher in Winston County. He gets caught being a child predator at the school where he is a teacher and convicted Again, are we expected to believe that the part of the day he was at the ramp, he wasn't a child predator? And when he would get to his school during the day, he would decide then I'm going to be a child predator? No, that's ignorant. He was just getting away with it at the ramp because it's okay there. It's part of their culture. These are not coincidence. That's just a few examples. Just a few examples. At some point, like Emily said, you put your blinders on. At some point, you have to realize maybe there's something here because it's right in front of your face. But you have to open your eyes to that. Those two things I just spoke about and those two people, that's exactly what happened. That's fact. That court paper, I have tons of evidence proving all of that. So nobody can argue against that. I can't see their comments, so again, I don't know why, but if they're trying to argue against that, I don't know how they are. It goes way beyond just Alabama, sadly. The movement the ramp is a part of is called the New Apostolic Stick. Where did my comment go? Oh, there it is. Reformation. Think Bethel Church in Redding, California. If they are connected to Bethel, chances are they are doing the same things Wheaton is doing. I know Karen has recently spoken at a couple churches in California, or things that claim they're churches. I'm not sure if that's one of them or not. I'll have to go back and look. And then, again, those of you that are part of it, you don't have to listen to me. Go to Stephen Womack's page. He was there. He was on staff. He firsthand information. Go listen. Go to his page and look. Rodrigo Burgos. Go to his page. Rodrigo was on my podcast. Go listen to that podcast. He tells you firsthand knowledge of things that happened and things he saw. Yeah, Tess, unfortunately, they've done a lot of damage to a lot of people. I don't see her comments for whatever reason. It's weird, but if Blessed or Katie, I don't know, I don't have many moderators on tonight for some reason, but if Blessed or Katie can see her comment, they can pin it. Yeah, she can ask the question. Why am I doing all of this? Well, I thought I explained that earlier, but I'll be glad to answer that again. It's nothing I'm saying is gossip or slander. If it's slander, then tell somebody to sue me. Uh, it's not. It's definitely not gossip. Do you really think someone like me, I woke up one day and decided I was going to put over half of my energy daily into taking down an organization just for the heck of it? I'm a veteran detective. I did 17 years in law enforcement. Most of those were as a detective. I'm a combat veteran. I have way better things to do with my life than to just wake up and decide to randomly attack an organization. But after speaking to about the fourth or fifth victim from there, I knew I had to do something. So that's why I do this, because I have personally spoken and had the hard conversations with numerous victims from the ramp that when they were children, they were harmed by adults there in horrible ways. And there's a lot of them. A lot. I've seen prior court paperwork that proves Karen Wheaton knew what was going on way before she acts like she did. She has paid people off before. I've seen this evidence. Like, there's a part that it gets to me that I can't logically understand or comprehend how everybody can't see all this now. But again, I'm not judging you. I understand how manipulation works. I understand how brainwashing works. I've been studying it for years. I've been teaching interview and interrogation, body language analysis for over 10 years to law enforcement across this country. Karen Wheaton is an expert in it. She is. Unfortunately, like I said, she uses it for evil and not good. That's the thing. I could show you all the evidence. It's not going to change you right now. I mean, look at the evidence I've already shown you, and that's not going to change you. I know how this goes. I dealt with this in my career forever. You can, again, until you choose to open your eyes, you're not going to see it, no matter what anyone shows you. That's a choice you have to make. You have to, at some point, make a choice that you just, at some point, you have to take a step back, take a deep breath, and say, I'm just for a minute, I'm going to look at this from a logical standpoint. But but you're spreading gossip. No, what I'm spreading is not gossip. This is facts. There's a big difference in gossip and facts. I'm bringing awareness to what's going on there so it can get shut down. And so people stop going there. So people stop sending their children there. Go and I'm sure there's some on YouTube. I know there's some on YouTube. There's documentaries. Go watch and listen to some interviews from previous cult members that were from some of these famous cults and listen to what they tell you. And they're going to say the exact same things you're saying because they were you at one point. And then finally, when it clicks to them and they finally open their eyes, they go, oh my God, what was I doing? People that know what they're doing can brainwash anyone. What am I actively doing to help? I'm bringing awareness. That's the main thing I'm doing is bringing awareness to this. Those of us that are bringing awareness to this is why this first summer ramp camp was so small now. It's why the numbers were down so much. If none of us were speaking out against this, nobody would know about it, because if you just watch Karen, if you just follow her, you don't know about any of this because she has never spoken about it. The speech she gave this weekend about the foxes is the first time she has mentioned anything about what's going on. Not one time. Not one time has Karen even said, we're praying, we need to pray for the victims. Not one time. She's never even mentioned the victims. Do you know how that makes the victims feel? I do, because I've spoken to them. And like Melissa just said, what is the ramp doing to help those victims? I can answer that because I've spoken to them. Nothing. That's called deflection, what you're telling me right now. You're saying no matter how horrible Karen is and how evil a person, you're giving her credit for some children getting saved. First off, the credit doesn't go to Karen. Karen didn't get anyone saved. As a Christian, I know that. As a Christian, I know who saved the children. It wasn't Karen. It was Jesus. It was Jesus Christ. No, I've never attended the ramp, nor will I. Again, I don't have to. I've spoken to more than enough people that have all the inside information. I speak to people that are still on the inside right now. But it's not. This is not a case of, well, so Karen does some evil things, so there, just because there are a lot of do you understand? There are over 100 young children and or teenagers that have been sexually assaulted part of the ramp over the last 20 years. Do you know how many lives that affects? Because it doesn't just affect the victims or survivors. It doesn't just affect them. It affects their families, their entire immediate family. It affects probably every relationship they're going to be in for the rest of their life. No amount of good can make up for that. None. And how can you believe that she is a real prophet? How can you believe that? She declared Samuel Bentley a prophet, correct? So you're telling me Samuel Bentley was a prophet? Was a real prophet? Even though he was doing the most horrible crimes you could ever commit on a child? I mean, explain that to me. That's one thing, and I know this is a fault of mine, but I can't comprehend how anyone could still truly think that she is a prophet. I don't. She is literally she fits the definition of false prophet as good as anyone. Again, how could you still believe she's a prophet when she declared Samuel Bentley a prophet? Meanwhile, he's doing horrible things. And there are so many victims that y'all don't even know about yet. That is going to blow your mind one day when it comes out. Yes, she is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Absolutely. I've never investigated someone that fits that better than Karen Wheaton, ever. Also, the money. Ask Karen where all the money is going. There's a lot of money missing. There's a lot of money just missing. Where is it, Karen? Where did it go? How is the ramp still in debt? She has raised millions upon multi-millions of dollars. And that place is still in debt? What in the world? Compare that to, if you're familiar, if you're in Alabama, you're probably familiar with Church of the Highlands. That's where I go to church. Been going there for a long time. Not $1 in debt. Has well over 23 campuses now. gives tons of money to the needy, does tons of things for people. Not $1 in debt. They do not borrow $1. Meanwhile, Karen Wheaton just has 3 campuses and has made probably about the same amount of money. It's unbelievable how much money she has brought in. Another thing she is good at is she can convince people to give her money. It's unbelievable the amount of money she has convinced people to give her. But yet they're still in debt. Where's all the money gone? There are millions of dollars missing. When I found out they were in debt, that blew my mind. Blew my mind. And in fact, when people first started telling me that, I didn't believe them, and I told them, I was like, no, there's no way they're in debt. There's no way they're in debt. And then I saw it for myself. I'm like, oh my, what in the world? Does a prophet steal money from their church? I just started following this because my family actually goes to that same church. You're saying your family goes to the ramp? If there's anything I can do for you, seriously, please message me and let me know, and we will do anything we can. But you need to get your family out of that, one way or the other. And for those that are saying I'm spreading gossip or that I shouldn't be talking about this, again, show me in the Bible where it says that. Show me in the Bible where it says I should go in a corner and be quiet when I know things are being wrong. In fact, it says the opposite. We are commanded to speak up for those voiceless people. That's what we're supposed to do. Loud. Yell. That's what Jesus did when he was on this earth. He turned over tables. He went around screaming and yelling. He didn't sit in a corner and be quiet. And you should never, ever worship a human of any kind. There are people on this live right now that will tell you they were there the night, and some of them actually had to do it, that they were there the night when Karen Wheaton made them all march down to the stage and bow down to her and pledge their allegiance to her. I could not believe that the first time I heard it. It happened. That's not a church. If your church does that, I have bad news. You're not in a church. You're in a cult. Yes, Thomas, no, that 100%. There's some people on here that were there. And then I've talked to people that were actually participated in it. Rodrigo Burgos, that was on my podcast, he talks about it. I think Stephen Womack has talked about it. I think Melissa was there. Yeah, Melissa was there. That happened. That is not a church. No, it is pure evil. And that's not even, I mean, that's just a scrape of the surface of the things that they've done. Again, the things that they put their college students through. I mean, number one, that's a fraud. Their college is a fraud. These people are paying, these kids are paying $4,500 a semester to go to this college. It's not accredited at all. They get nothing for it. Nothing. Even though they're all constantly promised that they're going to get accredited, and that once they do, that all these people that have attended through there will then, they were like grandfathered into this or something, which is not true at all. That is not the way it works. That's a scam, literally fraud. They're paying $4,500 a semester to go there. All the students they are forced to put in at least 30 hours per week of manual labor, unpaid. And if you don't do your full 30 hours, you're fined. This is a place that you pay to go to that's not even accredited. You're only allowed to eat out at certain places. You're told where you can eat and where you can't. That's if you can afford to eat. If your family doesn't have money, you're just not going to eat, because the ramp does not feed them at all. There's no meal. There's no free meals there. Trust me. The amount of previous students that have gone there I've spoken with that had these horrible stories of how they starved. And again, every one of them said the same thing. When they would finally break down and go to one of the leaders and say, look, I'm starving, I don't have any money, they would say, it's a time to fast. That's evil. Life hit me hard. Message me. I will help you. Most of the parents are they're manipulated too. I mean, we've got some previous parents that they sent their children there because they were blinded and manipulated until eventually they saw. And and then also on top of the eating, that's where that Bobby Cook comes into play. He did own a restaurant, run a restaurant there, and he knew they were all starving, and he would use that to his advantage, and he would invite a lot of the college students over to his restaurant to eat, and then he would also invite them to his house, and he would have these cookouts. And this is horrible. He's one of the bigger donors for the ramp. And so Karen herself and the other leaders would encourage the students to go to his house and eat. And they would go there and they would eat. And then when it started getting late, he would talk. He would try his best to talk, and sometimes he was successful, talk one or two of them into staying. They had no idea what was about to happen, and they would stay. And next thing they know, bad things are happening to them. I mean, this whole thing is just, it's unbelievable. See, Tess was a student there, and she says, someone I didn't know in the church gave me a whole box of food because I couldn't afford any. Rodrigo on the podcast, when he was on my podcast, he tells a, crazy sad story of how he was so hungry one time, and they have a food bank, but the students are not allowed eating that food. But the students were having to go through the food bank and pick out all the expired food and stuff, all the old stuff, and throw it away. Well, he talks about how he was so hungry, and he wasn't the only one, that and there was rat feces all in these boxes had gotten into this old food, and they were so hungry they ate that old food with the rat, where they were having to brush off rat feces from it to eat it. My God. So the woman that is probably the wealthiest in that town, her students are the ones having to cry out to locals, begging them for food. I can't see all of this comment, but it says, Derek, if you want the truth, listen to former people who left it rather than people whatever. I don't know how to be more clear of the people I've spoken with. And I've not just spoken with 4 or 5. I've not just spoken with 10 or even 20. I'm telling you, for about a month, almost every day, all day, I was speaking to prior victims and students and staff members from there. I've had so many reach out to me to tell me their story. It's unbelievable. I guess some of you think that I've just spoken to a few people or something. I wish that was the case. I mean, countless. So I don't know who you think I've spoken with, but trust me, tons. Melissa said there was a student just asking for food a few days ago. I mean, this is still going, again, all of this is still going on. Nothing's changed. Hey, thank you, Angel. I really appreciate that. Yeah, like Melissa said, the people saying, why don't they just get a job? where do you have time to get a job if you're a full-time college student? You're having to go to class and study, and you're having to work 30 put in 30 hours of manual labor per week for the organization. When can you work? And if you do work, what, you're going to be making minimum wage? That's not going to buy you many meals. Plus, face the facts, it's not like there's a overabundance of jobs in Hamilton, Alabama. Natalie, a lot of them are. Thank you, Melissa. A lot of them, Natalie asked if are the victims getting together and communicating with each other. A lot of them are. There's still, like, I've spoken to quite a few victims that they're not ready to go public and talk to anybody about it as far as public. They just wanted me to hear their stories. And I encourage all of them to at least go to the police, to speak with the State Bureau of Investigation, SBI, that's investigating it. But again, I'm not going to judge them for not, because I get it and I understand, and I encourage them to, but I don't push them. I'll even say this. I've yet to speak to a previous member or student or staff member that had anything good to say about the ramp. So, Grace, and I mean this, if you know someone that is no longer there and they're saying good things, tell them to message me. Go to my website, agentdbaker.com. It's agentdbaker.com. Very simple. And fill out the contact form. They don't even have to put their real name. Just got to put an email address and a message and tell me that. I would love to speak to them. I would love to find someone that used to go there. I would love to speak to someone that still does, that still believes in it. Message me. I would love to have a phone call with you. I'm not going to be disrespectful to you. I would love to have a conversation with you. I mean that. So, Grace, if you, and seriously, I would love to have a conversation with you. Message me and we'll set up a phone call or something. I would love to have a conversation with you. Again, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm not going to be rude or downy or, talk down to you or anything. And then also on the working thing, I'm sure they had to get that approved. So it's not like they could just go work anywhere. There are only certain places that the ramp would allow them to go to work. Like they control them fully. They are in full control of them. And that's not a church. One of the things God gives us is free will. Literally. There's no such thing in the ramp. You don't have free will to make any decisions your own. No, I haven't talked about Walker County any tonight. We've been stuck on some of this other stuff. Yeah, Emily, you're exactly right. Wow, very well put, Kaylee. Karen Wheaton didn't build a spiritual heaven; she built a financial vacuum. Very well put. We weren't forced to work at certain places. I don't know what you're talking. I know for a fact you had to get it approved before you could just go work somewhere. You couldn't just go out on your own. Hell, you can't even text somebody without getting it approved if you're a student there. They go through your phones. I've got quite a few pages of the student handbook. I've read them on here before. I've put them on screen before and read some of them. That's where I learned. I mean, talks about the cell phones. Females are not allowed to text males unless they get it approved. Males are not allowed to text females unless they get it approved. And their leaders go through their phones to make sure they're not texting members of the opposite sex, and then to make sure what the conversations they're having. They're only allowed to watch certain types of movies and TV shows. I mean, all this, that's all in the student handbook. That is a great idea, Monica. I wish it was a little cooler, but that is a great idea. We can make that happen. Like Tess was a prior student there. She said, I was so terrified to text or Facebook message anyone, even my own brother, while I was there. I've heard that exact same thing from pretty much every student I've spoken with. And again, I've actually seen those out of the student handbook. Oh, Monica's suggestion is for us to go set up and have a actual live in Hamilton one evening and have some of the locals join and hear their thoughts and stuff. That's a great idea. We'll make that happen. That's a good question, Isha. I wonder what would get it approved or unapproved. Yeah, we can have our own block party. Very well put, Kaylee. Karen Wheaton's entire agenda is designed to do one thing: systematically strip away a person's free will. Yeah, no, they can't make any decisions on their own. Well, that's a great idea, Tammy. It would be great if we could feed the kids at the ramp. That's a really good idea. The going hungry thing is very personal to me. Very personal. Because when I was a little kid, I went hungry a lot. I know what it feels like to be starved and to not get to eat. And that should not still be happening, especially in something that calls themselves a ministry, a church. That's crazy. That's the last thing that should be happening there. And so, but I take that personal. It's just, it upsets me so freaking much to know how many students there are literally not getting to eat a lot. They're having to go hungry. That is crazy. This should never happen. Ashton Hernandez says, I am lying and that stuff is happening. Well, I have evidence of everything I'm saying is happening. Do you have evidence that it's not? Let us see it. Because again, it blows my mind that some of you actually possibly think that I'm just sitting here making up things. That blows my mind. You're exactly right, Emily. It makes you not be able to think straight, so I'm sure it aided in the brainwashing. No, that's a very big part of that. Very big part of it. So the former director wasn't having relations with the student? So Samuel Bentley, Karen's own son-in-law, who she declared was a prophet himself. He was second in command, one of the main pastors there, one of the main leaders. He wasn't doing horrible things to minors. I mean, he says he was. Is he lying about that? He went out and made that stuff up. Hot dogs, chips, Little Debbie, and a drink. No, if I'm part of feeding them, if I have anything to do with feeding them, we're going to feed them real food. Not that junk. I don't let my own kids eat that. I graduated with Samuel, a prophet, was not on his bingo card. No, Samuel was an evil excuse for a human. Melissa, you know you're not. You know that's not on you. I mean, they've hidden things. They've hidden what was going on for over 20 years. He's not going to get away with it. I do understand your frustrations, Jennifer, though, for sure. But he's not going to get away with it. Not going to lie, I was a bit shocked by him being the one to confess to what he did. So, quite a few of the prior male students, they said it didn't surprise them at all as far as finding out he was doing that. Apparently, he would have some pretty vulgar conversations with them, sexual conversations that happened apparently a lot in private, and they would joke. He would joke about it and about things he did before he got in the church or something, but he would be very specific and not good stuff. Not things you should be, if you're a leader in a church, a ministry, that you should be talking about to your students in any way whatsoever. All right, Thomas, you have a good night. I appreciate you being on. Yeah, he told the class one time about his many affairs and told his kids. Now, are y'all saying that you were shocked that he actually admitted to it? Or are you saying you were shocked to find out he did it? I know why I know why he had to come clean with it. Because his boss told him he had to. She told him he was going to have to fall on the sword. Because there was finally a victim that they couldn't hide, that they could do nothing about. That's what caused all this. I can pitch in some money to help with food. Yeah, what we'll do, I'll set up a little fund when we get we'll get all the, I'll get all the details together, and then we'll set up a little fund to where anybody can give, and then we'll get it all set up. But that is a great idea. I'm glad y'all came up with that. That sounds great to me. Oh, you were shocked knowing he did it. I mean, again, child predators are master manipulators. Most child predators have never committed another crime or never been caught committing another crime. They're normal people. Again, they're very good at flying under the radar. They're good at what they do. I mean, well over 90% of child predators, when they're caught, you hear tons of people close to them say, I mean, it shocks them. And that's why I tell people you don't trust anyone with your small children. No one. We have to teach our children how to become hard targets, because you don't know who the predators are. They don't look a certain way. You can't just pick them out in a crowd. It's impossible, unfortunately. And so we have to teach our children to be hard targets. And we have to be paranoid about our children and who they're with and who they are alone with, because you don't know, and you don't take that chance. And if there is an adult wanting to spend a lot of extra time with your young child, that needs to throw up red flags with you. Not saying it's not innocent at times, because a lot of times it may be, but it should throw up red flags for you to go, let me look into this a little more. And why is this grown man wanting to come pick up my 6-year-old son all the time and take him places? Is he just being nice, or there are alternative motives here? That has to throw up red flags to you, because that's how it starts. It's going to be somebody you know. It's going to be somebody in your family or somebody that's close friends of the family. And when you find out that they're the ones who did it, you're going to be shocked almost every time. That's what's so complicated about it. Well, Tess, you were probably a hard target. They I don't mean this in a degrading way to survivors or anything, but they target a certain character. Again, they're good at what they do. They study. They're very patient, and they don't just run and jump every person they come into contact with, trying to get in with them and trying to manipulate them. They're very strategic about it. Yes, they target those that are insecure. There's a lot, and there's certain. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the whole playbook, because I don't want to teach somebody how to do it. But there is literally a playbook. I mean, there are manuals going around. It's crazy. And I've told you, I've seen some of these manuals, and they're almost identical to a lot of the things I teach to law enforcement, and it's crazy. But they know what they're doing. They're very calculated, and they're very patient. They know the right things to say to a young teenage girl. They know the right things to say to a young boy. And then they start very slow. And that's what I'm not going to get into all this right now, because it's getting late, but I can't wait to get this course out on the one that we're putting together, that's going to educate parents, teachers, law enforcement on how to protect children from child predators, and how to make your child and the children around you hard targets instead of soft targets. But it all comes down to, y'all know, one of my big things: stop teaching your small children, when they learn how to talk, teach them the real names for their private parts. TikTok will get me off, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I'm about to go anyway. It's called a vagina. That's a scientific name for it. Stop making up weird, crazy names for it. It's called a penis. That's what you teach your children. That's called. Those are not bad words. Those are literally the scientific names for them. The reason that's so important, one reason that's so important, if a child predator is targeting your child, say they're targeting your 4-year-old, and they get along with them, and they touch them in one of those spots, and your 4-year-old looks and says, "You just touched my vagina," or "You just touched my penis," do you think that child predator is going to go, "I'm going to continue targeting this person"? No. That's going to turn them away. They're going to go for an easier victim. Trust me. They're going to go, "Whoa, this kid knows what they're talking about. I can't mess with them." So seriously, just that one thing can stop a lot of children from being victims. Just that one thing. That's going to freak the child predator out, and they're going to move on to a softer target. That's one of the simple things we have to do and start changing. Another thing, and y'all know my big thing on especially females, and this goes from extremely young females all the way up through the teenage years. In the South, we were too worried about teaching our daughters to be respectful and not be rude and be just a good Southern girl. No, stop that. Teach your daughter to say no. Teach your daughter to stand up for herself. And teach them, hey, there's times you need to be rude. You don't hold back. We're literally teaching, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. We are teaching her that if someone touches her in one of those spots, we're teaching her to look at them and say, don't fucking touch me. That's the exact words. Why? Because I promise you, if a child predator is trying to touch your child and they turn around and say that, especially a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, they're going to go another direction. 100% of the time. The statistics of the amount of younger females that are abused, assaulted in the South compared to the North are drastically different. It happens way more often in the South. Again, why? My theory is because we, in the South, we're so worried about teaching our daughters to be, again, to don't be rude. In the North, they don't teach them like that. Again, I remember the first time I started recognizing this was in college when I went to college. And I got to college and, there's people from all different states. And the girls from the North, they didn't care to be rude. They were completely different than the girls from the South. And so we have to change that. Again, is there a time not to be rude? Well, of course. But when your 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old daughter, or even older, ends up in a bad situation she doesn't feel comfortable with, and that's probably going to happen, especially if they go to college, that's not a time to be polite, to worry about being polite. Because that's what happens. The girls have been taught their whole life to be polite and not be rude. And you're lucky if they say no. A lot of times they won't even say no. They just kind of go along with it even though they don't want to. And that's sad. But I will do everything I can to teach my daughter no. Again, we're teaching her for the time she can talk. I would much rather her say the F word than get abused. I'll take that. These are things that we need to think about and that we really got to change inside it. Thankfully, I think this stuff is catching on a lot. The more I talk about it, the more. I think the last probably 6 months I've talked to more people that have already implemented this. So this is going around all around the country, thankfully, and a lot of people are starting to realize, and they're stopping teaching their small children these made up names for these things, and they're teaching them the real things. That's a start. And then all this other stuff is starting to come around, but a lot more education needed. A lot more education needed. But it comes down to, you're not going to be able to protect your child all the time. You're not always going to be there. So we have to make our children, we have to teach them how to be hard targets instead of soft targets. And that needs to be a top priority because it happens too often. If you wait to have that sex talk with your child, if your child's 10 and you haven't had that sex talk with them, you're too late. You're way too late. They've already learned everything about that from the students in their class, and that's the last place they needed to learn it from. They should have learned it from you the right way before then. But if they're 10, 11, 12, and you ain't taught them that, had those talks with them that, you're too late. You missed that bus. Trust me. It's sad to say, and it's crazy to have to say that, but that's just the case. You can't wait like that. Those conversations have to be had a lot younger now. And again, who's guilty of not having that conversation? What households are not allowed to talk about sex at all? Christian households. Christian households. We got to change that. It's the Christian children that are getting abused by child predators. They're the soft targets for the child predators. We have to change that. Nowhere in the Bible does God tell us to make our child a soft target like that. Nowhere. Talking about sex should not be taboo in your household with your children. They're going to hear it. Would you rather them hear it from you or from their classmates? Trust me, you would much rather them hear it from you. Because God knows what they're learning from their classmates. We got to change that it's a whole culture we have to change. We are literally, for years, forever, we have literally been raising children to be soft targets. We have to change it. We have to bring a lot more awareness to it, a lot more education. There's just not enough education out there at all. That's one reason I'm becoming so passionate about this, and we're putting in so much time on these courses for this to get this out. There's just not enough out there. I mean, it's almost impossible to find. You can Google some stuff, but there's not enough education out there. What would you tell a 10-year-old boy about sex? How would you start? That, like, I don't know your 10-year-old. And so I don't know what they've been taught before. I don't know who they've been around, all that stuff. So all that matters. Like, I know what mine has, and so I know what conversations that I think I need to have with him. And there's not like one just right answer. There's not just one wrong answer. There's probably 10,000 different ways to do it right, and there's probably 10,000 different ways to do it wrong. So, but there's not one catch-all good answer, in my opinion, anyway. But the way you worded that question is kind of what I'm talking about. The way you're saying that is like it's this big taboo thing that shouldn't be talked about at all. That's what we have to change. Yes, you have to teach them how to talk about it and what to say about it and what not to and all that stuff. But you have to educate them. Tell them the facts. Tell them the facts of life, as they say. Be factual about it. Don't try to beat around the bush. Teach them all these things. I mean, again, if your child's 10 and you're having that and you're just having that conversation with them, you're way too late. It's not to say that you shouldn't. I don't care how late you are, you need to have that conversation with them. But that conversation needs to be had a lot younger, unfortunately. A lot younger. But from the time they can talk, or at least from the time they start understanding and things like that, they need to know what is right and what is wrong. They need to know, hey, no one should be touching you in this spot. No one should be telling you this. No one should be doing this with you or to you. You have to teach them that from a very young age. That way they know, they understand. Versus if they don't even know what sex is, how do they know what Uncle Jerry did to them is wrong? They don't. Because Uncle Jerry's groomed them and taught them it's okay. And that reminds me of one of the biggest things is we teach our children, never, ever, ever under any circumstance, teach your child to lie to one of their parents. Never. No matter how small, never. That is never okay. Your child needs to know that they should never, under any circumstance, lie or keep secrets. Mainly keep secrets. They are never allowed to keep secrets from mom or dad. And like one of the examples I always use is dad's out with the kid and they're going to get ice cream, and dad says, hey, don't tell mom about us getting this ice cream because she'll be mad at us. No, you can't do that. That's teaching your child that it's okay to keep a secret from mom, and that should never be okay. Is that completely innocent in that situation? Yes, but that's not the point. You got to look at the bigger picture and what that's teaching them. That's exactly what child predators do. That's how they start. They don't start out with the big thing. They start out with, I'm going to give you this cookie, but your mama said no sweets, so don't tell your mom or dad about this. And the kids are like, okay. But if you have been very stern from the beginning of, hey, you never keep a secret from mom or dad. I don't care who tells you to that. Never, ever. Then if Uncle Jerry or grandma or grandpa or whoever says, I'm going to give you this cookie, but don't tell your parents because they told me not to give you any sweets, they're going to say, oh, I can't keep secrets from my parents. I'm not allowed to keep a secret from them. I have to tell them. That's going to throw a kink in that child predator's plan, and they're going to move to a harder target. It's a very simple thing, but it's something that for years and years, people just didn't realize what they were doing. And those are the conversations you have to have, those hard conversations with the grandparents, with aunts and uncles and cousins, and tell them, hey, don't you ever teach them. I know you don't mean anything bad by this, but don't teach them to keep a secret from mom or dad ever, and explain it to them, and they'll understand. They're like, oh, I've never thought about that. The amount of times I've told that to people, and then they're like, wow, I've never thought about that. Yeah, Southern South. Yeah, go to the website and send a message on the contact thing, and yeah, we'll get back with you. Emily has posted. She said this is a helpful resource for Christian parents. So y'all go if she's posting that on the Facebook comments, which will still be on there because this live will still be on Facebook. It'll be up for at least the next 30 days. But go on there and check this resource out. And I'll check it out too. And then once I do, I'll share it out as well. Thank you, Emily. But yeah, the secrets, that's like the very first step of grooming. That's where every child groomer starts there. And they'll start with a very small secret to see if it works. And if it does, then they'll step it up to a bigger one. And then they'll step it up to a bigger one. But if you stop that, if your child stops that on the very small one, the beginning, they're probably going to move. They're going to move on to a harder target. To a softer target. But yeah, all this stuff that I'm talking about and way more, it goes way in depth, is going to be in the course once we get it out. It's going to be very, very in depth. It's going to have, I mean, everything we can think of is going to be in there, and it'll be really good education, like I said, for parents, teachers, law enforcement, all the above. And I think it will really, I think a lot of people will get a lot of value out of it. Yeah, Angel, no, that's not the first time I've heard that. It's horrible. We cannot protect our children by pretending these dangers don't exist. Awareness and open communication are our greatest weapons. Start talking before it's too late. Very, Kayla, you're on it tonight. You've said a lot of very insightful things. I appreciate that. You're exactly right. Very well put. But yeah, and teenagers, for sure, your teenagers have to know and understand that they can always be fully open with you, no matter what, no matter how bad they screw up, that they can be open with you. And you have to instill that in them, that, hey, no matter what you do, I'm going to love you. Nothing's going to make me not love you. Nothing's going to make me run from you or not be there for you. You can always be open with me no matter what. Doesn't mean there's not going to be consequences, but we'll deal with the consequences. That's simple. But you have to teach them to be open with you no matter what. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do dumb things. We all did. But they have to know, no matter how bad I screw up, no matter how bad I do, what bad decision I make, I can tell mom and dad, and they're going to help me, and we're going to get through it. Life's not over. Again, yeah, there will be consequences, but that's a simple thing. Are you serious, Emily? So this is something new. Emily said the core theology at the ramp is called Word of Faith. It's a similar belief as manifesting. If you talk about these situations as parents, you attract them to you by speaking it into existence. These families rarely speak about negative things. Jesus Christ. Now, I'm a believer in manifesting positive things. I do. But I've never looked at it in that doesn't mean we don't talk about facts and negative things that happen to teach. So they're teaching that. That's not surprising. Oh, yeah, no. Now you hit that right on the head. Also, the touch not God's anointed keeps people from speaking out against the predators in these places. I mean, we've seen the video. We've played the video numerous times of Perry Stone at the ramp preaching about we have to learn to keep secrets, which is literally the opposite of what I'm teaching. And that falls into that. And we see this, all the people that's in my comments attacking me and in the messages attacking me about this, that's the word they use. You better be careful speaking out about God's anointed. That's exactly what I've seen it 100 times. It's exactly what they say. You're speaking out about God's anointed. You better be careful. You don't know what you're doing. I don't think God went around and anointing a lot of child predators. I just don't believe that. This culture of honor, reminds me of the Pirates Code. And I'm not going to get into that tonight, but that reminds me of that every time I hear that. There's nothing wrong with teaching loyalty and honor and things like that. But this is a whole, this Pirates Code is what I call it. Because back in the day, like with real pirates, they had this code of honor, and it was way over the top, like no matter what. And it reminds me of the same thing. I investigated a criminal organization. I was deep into this criminal organization that had some very educated people involved, and very big professions, and they operated off what they called the Pirates Code. That was the first time I ever came into contact with it. But I'm going through their text messages and emails and everything back and forth with it, and they were always talking about this Pirates Code, and it was just shocking to me. But that's what they went off of, and it's like the same thing. Hope that made sense to everybody. My husband tonight said, "Dang, what's up with his long hair?" Well, that's the chair mullet. Yeah, I think I'm eventually going to have to get a different chair, or I thought I might just cut the top of this one off. But yeah, everybody thinks I have this big, beautiful mullet. That verse speaks of David almost physically harming Saul, not warning of wolves and predators. Oh, yes. You cover up the sin no matter what you cover. Cover up culture. Yeah, that's like what the Pirates Code is like no matter what. You you honor that person and you're loyal to them. No, they can go eat 5 people, and that doesn't change your honor and loyalty to them no matter what. And it's way out there. It's very extreme. No, leave it. It's funny. It's became a staple of the podcast, the chair mullet. And I think, hold on, let me see. Back a while back when everybody was doing the cartoonish characters with AI, and I kept doing it, and it kept giving me this long mullet, no matter what. Is it this? Oh yeah, here it is. I thought I had it on here. Yeah. First, it looks nothing like me, but it gave me this long, beautiful mullet. And so we tried another picture, like where I wasn't sitting in my chair, and it kept giving me the long mullet. And so that became a big joke. Do as I say, not as I do. When organizations focus on protecting a reputation, a brand, or an institution over the safety of children, they are operating by the Pirates Code. They prioritize the crew over the victims. You are exactly right. Once again, Kaylee is on point. Yep. It's the same as these families where, and I think there's some of the, I think some of those survivors are on here that have spoken out before about this. When they were young and someone in their family abused them, and then they went to their mother or father, their parents, and told them, and they got the, let's just not tell anybody about that because we don't want to embarrass the family. And that has happened more times than we could ever count. And it's just, I don't see how you could do that to your child. That's unbelievably horrible. A lot of people have done that. Let's just not tell anybody because that'll just embarrass the family, and everybody will make fun of us. But yeah, that's exactly what that is. And yeah, it's the same thing with the church. That's exactly what happens in a lot of the Christian organizations when this happens. Is that's why they try to cover it up, because they're worried more about their reputation than the children. Saving face to lose their grace. Oh, that's, yep. I like that. I've never, I don't think I've heard it put like that, but yep. It's sad. It's very sad. But please don't think, if you're not Christian, or if you don't go to a church or anything like that, please don't think that all Christian churches are like that, because they're not. There are a lot of good ones. There are some bad ones, and they make the rest of them look. Same thing I'd say in law enforcement. There are not many corrupt law enforcement officers in this country. There's not. It's a very small amount, very, very small percentage. But that small percentage makes everybody look bad. And if you were ever crossed by one corrupt cop, then in your mind you're going to think logically, well, all the police are like that, but they're not. I promise you, they're not. And again, the same with pastors and church leaders and teachers, coaches, whatever. They're all not like that. They need to pay for all the bills I have from every mental breakdown. Where did the comment go? In Hamilton that they caused. All right. Yeah, we've been on for. Where did my clock go? Oh my goodness, we've been on for almost 4 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna head on for the night. Hey, I appreciate each and every one of you for being on here. I truly mean that. I can't do any of this by myself. That would be worthless. It's thanks to you all that is the reason we're able to bring awareness to so many things. And I can't appreciate you all enough. All I ask you to do is watch my stuff, listen to my podcast, watch my videos, watch them all the way through, like them, share them, repost them, comment on them. All those things help push them out. If you're not following me, please hit the follow button, or if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go subscribe to it, because that's my full podcast is only available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So if you want to watch my full podcast, the best place to do that is on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Agent D. Baker. If you have trouble finding me on any of the platforms, just go to my website, agentdbaker.com, and there's links to all the platforms I'm on there. This is very simple. Also, Wednesday night lives. I do a live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. Wednesday night lives are exclusively on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss the Wednesday night live. It's where we get deeper and dig and are a little more real on everything, because we don't have to be as careful as the words I use and things like that. So that's why we do the Wednesday night ones exclusively on YouTube. So make sure you go subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss that. So that'll be this Wednesday night will be exclusively on YouTube. Then Friday nights is at 9 p.m. Central, and it's back on all the platforms. So my lives are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Wednesdays are exclusively on YouTube. Mondays and Wednesdays are 8 p.m. Central, and Friday nights are 9 p.m. Central. And then also make sure you catch my full podcast again on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. And if you or someone you know is interested in being a guest on the podcast, go to the website, agentdbaker.com, and click on the contact button and submit your name and a message, and we'll get back with you. If you have any information about any cases, whether it be something I'm covering or something you would like to see me cover, again, same thing. If you're interested in getting me to come to your organization to speak, again, there's a button on there. Go to that section on the website, click the contact button. Very simple. So just let us know, and we will get back with you. We're going to try to get the peaceful protest stuff all put together. Again, it's not guaranteed that it'll get approved, but we're going to submit everything hopefully tomorrow, and I'll get back with y'all and let y'all know how that goes, and then we'll go from there on that. That'll be in Hamilton around the ramps, one of their summer camps. But other than that, if there's anything I do for any of you, shoot me a message, and if I can help you, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't. If you send me a message on one of the platforms, it may take me a while to get to your message. If you go through the website, we'll get it pretty soon and get back with you. But other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday night and have a great Tuesday tomorrow, and I will see y'all back Wednesday night on YouTube. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D. Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes, and real conversations that are not suitable for children and may be triggering for some individuals. If you choose to continue, do so knowing this content is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.